So real estate investing can be a great path to financial freedom, and everybody's gonna sell you on why it's so easy. And guess what? It's not. But I will show you 5 common mistakes that investors make and how you can avoid them. My name is Stef, and I'm a licensed loan officer. So I provide a lot of financing for investors when they're looking to scale their portfolio. So I see hundreds of transactions that come through my team and I'm going to give you some really high level overview on what they're doing right now to avoid losing a lot of money. The first mistake most investors make, despite the fact that it's common sense, is skipping market research. Okay. If you have a lack of understanding, then you're going to be buying a money pit. So there's 3 things that we want to look for when we're looking into a market. The first thing is rental demand. Okay. We want to make sure that there are going to be tenants that want to move there or live in that area. The second thing is pricing trends. Okay. Right now we're in a market where a lot of prices are correcting or going up. I'm not seeing a lot of decline, right? It's just because of the demand, there's not enough inventory. So we're not going to see any price drops anytime soon. So, but pay attention to the area, right? Is it set to increase in price 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And the next thing is neighborhood potential, okay? So do you feel like obviously there's potential in the neighborhood? Where is it going? Is the government investing in it? Things like that. And without this, you're going to end up overpaying and you're going to buy in low demand areas. At all costs, you want to avoid that. If you get stuck with a property that's not going to produce any revenue or profit, you're buying a money pit. Okay. Now, investors who research market trends are 40% more likely to achieve a higher ROI. And I just made that statistic up, but it sounds nice. Okay. So here's some actionable tips that what you can do. The biggest one, and this is very, very high level. Okay. The first thing is you want to look at what your city is investing in. Okay. And I know my handwriting is garbage. I'm going to say it on every single video, but please forgive me. What is your city doing in certain areas? Keep a close eye on projects and where they're moving money. This will tell you on what values are going to be like in the future. For example, in Chicago, there are certain neighborhoods on the west side that aren't the best, but they're pouring a lot of money into revitalizing those areas. So if you know about that, I think it's going to give you a good indicator of what to look for and what to do in the next 5, 10 years. Another thing is historical areas. So this doesn't mean you should invest in historical areas, but I think that a lot of properties that you're going to be buying are going to be hard to get permits for if it's in a historical area, and it's going to hold up your carrying cost. It's going to increase your carrying costs and hold up the process. So just keep that in mind if you're buying an area that has like a historical zoning, if that makes any sense. The next thing is really leverage your realtor. So if you have a real estate agent that's investor friendly, this is the big thing. You want to there's different types of agents and there's different types of lenders. Like for me, I focus on helping investors. Yes, I can do first time home buyers. I can do all that stuff, but my business is to help investors scale their portfolio by getting the right financing, the right loan products, right? Same thing for realtors. You want to work with a realtor that understands how an investor thinks. So what they're going to be doing constantly is they're going to be finding deals for you. They're going to have a pulse on the market and they're going to be running ARV, right? After repair value comps. And this is for if you're doing fix and flips or buy and holds, but you want to renovate. The next thing is leverage your lender. That's me. Okay. You want to know about the latest products. There's a lot of really creative products out there, guys. I'm rolling out my website. As of right now, it's not live yet, but you're going to see there's a lot of really, really niche and unique creative ways to get financing that most loan officers actually don't even know about. And then that obviously means that you want to get the best creative financing options. Skipping market research can be costly, but what's even more dangerous is ignoring due diligence. If you do this, then you're overlooking important details that are going to rush and kill your deals. And honestly, I'm guilty of this. I move very quick. I like to move fast. That's how my team and I are. But when it comes to certain deals, if you're not analyzing it correctly, you can lose a lot of money. So one thing to look at obviously is the condition of the property, right? Do you want to target A class, B class, C class areas, right? Or B class properties, I should say. And what's the zoning? This is really big. Have your agent run and find out what the zoning is of that property. I have a lot of guys that invest in really weird properties that are cheap, but then they're tough to sell. The reason why they're tough to sell is because when you can't get financing, meaning the lender won't give financing on a property because it's zoned weird, or even if it's zoned a certain way, but if it's not that on physically, it's not going to line up. Here's what I mean. I have a property that we're trying to get financing for. It's like a weird warehouse, but it's set up as a residential multi-unit building, but it doesn't look like that. So at the end of the day, it could say it's a multi-unit property, or it could say it's a warehouse, whatever the case may be. But if it looks like a duck, it acts like a duck. Guys, it's a duck. You can't try to fit like a round peg into a square hole. So the same thing for properties go. Yes, zoning is important. It's going to affect your financing big time, but you want to make sure that you understand like, is the lender gonna like lend on it? And that's where I can come in. I can tell you right away, hey, this is gonna work or this is not gonna work. The next thing is title status, right? The lender will help you with this, but you can see if there's any judgments, liens on title, and that's really big because a lot of that can come up last minute. You want to triple check your inspection, common sense stuff there. Get experienced help. You want to have a professional that actually is full-time. They know what they're doing. Don't rely on part-time people, please. It's gonna be costly. I would rather know now versus later. So a big thing is a lot of investors rush into deals, but they overlook certain things. I would want to know all my mistakes before I get into a deal. Even if it costs some money, I would rather lose $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 than lose $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 with a property I can't sell. Okay. Here's a big reason why. So we have story time. Okay. I had an investor's back deck collapse, brother. Look at this. If you guys can see this, this was actually in Chicago. His back deck collapsed. He calls me. He's like, you'll never believe what happened. His tenant calls him at night, and his tenant's like, hey, there were some loud noises in the back. I went to check it out. It turns out that the deck is completely gone. And my client was like, what are you talking about? Like, how is it gone? And so took some pictures. Lo and behold, the thing just collapsed, right? This could have been avoided because the inspector that he had is now no longer an inspector, but he wasn't qualified. Okay. And so he didn't catch this problem up front, bought the property, never cared, thought the deck was okay. And then now he's in this predicament where he's got to spend like $20,000, $30,000 to fix it. Okay. The next thing is the local government. People overlook this. Okay. They'll overlook this a lot because they think that, okay, hey, I run my comps, I run my numbers, everything looks great. But if the local government is not helpful and they're trash, it's going to hold up your permitting. It's going to hold up when you need things from them to be above board. Like if they can't get it done, if they're lazy, or if they're just not compliant, it's going to be very difficult. Okay. So that's a big thing too. And the last thing with that is ask the local Facebook groups. So if you're looking at investing in a neighborhood or in an area, the best way to get an inside scoop of what's happening is just ask the locals. And the easiest way to do this is Facebook. Every neighborhood group, for the most part, has local Facebook groups. When you go inside, it give you idea of like who lives there, what problems do they have, crime, things like that. But you can ask them like, hey, I'm thinking about buying like in this area, or what do you guys think? Hey, this is what I want to do. Is this crazy? Whatever the question could be. Okay. So due diligence can protect you from surprises, but this next mistake is really, really important because everybody makes it all the time, and that's poor budgeting. A lot of investors want to make these big projects, they want to do these big things, but they don't have the patience to sit down and really budget wisely. So by the way, if you need help, if you're doing a fix and flip project, or if you're a landlord, I made a calculator bundle for investors. That's going to include 3 to 5 really, really good calculators that you can use as an investor, whether you're doing fix and flips, whether you have properties that you're managing, and it's going to give you all the numbers and all the formulas to just plug and play. I made it really simple. If you want to download, it's completely free. Hope that helps. So back to the video. With poor budgeting, if you miscalculate costs, it's going to ruin your bottom line. So that's why it's important to expect surprises, because on every project, especially if you're buying an old house or an old multi-unit building, there's going to be issues that are going to come up, and you want to get ahead of that. And so know that surprises are going to come. With that, what I like to preach on is a 20% rule. So have a contingency fund, like have some money set aside. What we'd like to say is 10 to 20% of the budget aside for any emergencies that come up. And the next thing is just vet your contractor. So ask for references, right? You want to make sure that you know, hey, is this guy legit? Is he going to run off with my money? Like call his past clients or look at his past jobs. Get an idea of like, does he have a good reputation? Yes or no. Here's the biggest problem with contractors though, is that the really good ones are taken. And so you have to almost find one that's undervalued, because the good contractors are like 3 to 6 months booked out, right? Right now I have a contractor that he's 6 months booked out. Like it's going to take us that long to like get him to work on one of our projects. So we're like, okay, we have to find someone else. He's like, they're just too busy. And so the more detailed budget you can have, the better you're going to be in that position. And so if you want to hire a virtual assistant, if you don't want to do it yourself, that's fine. Like do whatever it takes to make sure that your budget is line by line spelled out, you know, and you're expecting the surprises and you know what the bottom line is going to look like. And then lack of organization is key here too. So as an investor, you're going to learn that you have to be organized. You have to have things on a spreadsheet. You have to know what's coming in. You have to know what's coming out. Because guess what? This is a business. You're running a business. You have to treat it like a business. A lot of people, especially business owners, but also investors, they just fly by the seat of their pants. Nothing's on a spreadsheet. It's all over the place and it's a mess. So if you want some helpful tools, I put in the description. It's going to help you be a little bit more organized. So a detailed budget is important, but if you have a bad tenant in your property, you can kiss all your progress goodbye. I don't care how good of a deal you got. Tenants, if they're not properly vetted, are going to really cost you thousands of dollars and a ton of headache. So when you fail to screen tenants properly, you're going to have late payments, property damage, or legal issues. Do you want that? No, you don't. Once you get tenants into the property, it's pretty difficult to get them out. Okay. In some areas, like for example, for me in Chicago, it's pretty difficult. So just know that you're going to need the background checks. If you try to vet the tenants without the background checks, a lot of people just, again, fly by the seat of their pants. They have a good relationship with the person and they're like, oh, this person would be great. You want to do a background check regardless. Use different screening services. Ones that we like are apartments.com, Turbo Rental, or Rent Prep. They're all a little bit different. I like ease of use and where the portal's simple. I think apartments.com and Rent Prep do a good job of that. You want to check their social media, seriously. So what I'm doing is I'm looking on Facebook, right? I'm looking on Instagram, on LinkedIn, if they have one. LinkedIn though, they can be serious and it's different, but you want to check their Facebook and Instagram. I had a client of mine who had a bad tenant, but didn't know because they crossed off all the boxes. They had good credit, they had good income, but they were a huge party animal. And because of that, they had a ton of complaints and a lot of other tenants that wanted to leave their building. And so if you look on their Facebook, look on their Instagram, check their lifestyle. That's really going to tell you what kind of person they are. Okay. The next thing is look at their employment history. The background check will help with that. Again, once they're in, they're hard to kick out, but a little bonus tip to help avoid attracting lower quality or bad quality tenants is if you have higher quality units, you're going to get higher quality tenants. It's that simple. The area plays a role. Yes, that helps. Like if you're next to a hospital or a school, those are the best niches. But if you have a really nice unit that's taken care of, you're going to attract the people that want to move into it and take care of it as well. Okay, let's say you screen tenants, you're on your way to getting cash flow. This next mistake is a big one that investors make every single year and it kills them. And that's not having a plan B. If you don't have a backup plan, you're stuck. So the first thing is you want to look at what are my exit strategies, right? So there's some exit strategies if you're stuck on a deal or if you want to get rid of it. There's some things to consider in case something happens and you just need to get rid of the property. You always want to have these plan B, C, D, E ideas in your back pocket. Okay. So obviously you can just sell it to the public market. That's option one. The next option is you can do a DSCR cash out refinance. So DSCR cash out refinances require no income verification and no debt verification. I know it's hard to read, sorry, but you get the point. So they're really easy to do because they're not going to look at your personal debt or your personal income. Okay. The next thing for DSCR loans is that the max cash out you can get is 80% LTV. Usually if your credit score is above 740, if it's below 740, the max is between 70 and 75%. I'm a loan broker, a mortgage broker, so I have a lot of different DSCR investors. Typically this is the case. There's some one-off situations, but that's your cap, 80% depending on credit. Okay. The next thing you can do is rent to own. So sometimes a lot of people do lease options where they'll have a tenant come in and say, hey, we'll rent it to you. And then eventually you'll have the option to buy. You could turn it into an Airbnb, right? You can do Airbnb or VRBOs depending on the market. I know in some markets they're cracking down on it, like New York. The next thing is you can just sell to another investor. If you're halfway through a project, you're like, forget this. I don't want to deal with it. I want to cut my losses. I've had guys that do that as well. They can't sell to public market. Okay. And the last and final option is the Hail Mary loan. Okay. So the Hail Mary loan is a program that we've developed to allow investors to get the quick financing that they need to just get the project done. It's basically a cash deposit loan straight to you, and there's no liens on any property. Okay. There's no liens. So it's just straight cash to you. What the rule is though, is you have to have a 680 minimum credit score and you have to be showing at least $50,000 a year in gross income on your tax returns for the last 2 years. Okay. If you can cross off those two boxes, you'll qualify. I put a survey in the link in the description if you've made it this far in the video. That survey is going to give you a snapshot of whether or not you'll qualify for the loan and the next steps to get financing. Usually the funding takes about 5 to 7 days, but I like this program. Look, if you're not in it long term, it's a good loan for the short term. Just get it, pay it off. There's no prepayment penalties at all. So that's another bonus too. It just gets you the funding quickly to get moving with your next project. You can have a detailed budget in place, a plan B, plan C, have the right tenants. But if you're not patient, that's going to kill a lot of your deals. So be patient. The market's not easy. Inventory is tight. We're seeing that rent demand is only getting stronger. So I know labor costs have gone up. I know rates are where they're at. Trust me, I'm a lender. I see it every day. But be patient on your next deal or on your first deal. You'd rather do it right up front and do it right the first time than have a lot of mistakes. We say measure twice, cut once, right? And real estate investing can be incredibly rewarding, but a lot of guys are out there pitching that it's super easy and anyone can do it. And honestly, it's not. There are some ways to make it easier, but there are some mistakes that you're gonna make, right? So I made a quick video on some horror stories that some of my past investors have had and what you can do to avoid it. It's really fun. Check out the video. You're gonna hear a lot of crazy stories from contractors, bad tenants, people stealing furniture. It's nuts. So I hope you found value in this. Do me a favor and subscribe if you did. My name's Ben. If you need any lending help at all, you can reach out to my team and I. We can help you with anything you need. Fix and flip, DSCR loans, 4-unit properties, you name it. Thank you.